Good afternoon. Here's a product you don't really think about very much because it's so cheap. 12-piece needle file with poly handles. Central Forge P4614. I've been shopping at Harbor Freight for more than 20 years. The SKU starting with a P means it's a very old part number, like 20 years old. So, it's 12-piece. I use these a lot to clean up 3D printer prints that have a small imperfection. I also use them for electronics, believe it or not. Very nice to have. A lot of different shapes here. It comes in a container, which is actually kind of nice, but with 3D printing, I found a better container. I found this. It took, I think it took 8 hours to print that. And what it does is it lets these sit like that. Now, if these were, I have 2 sets of these. I have one set for the shop and one set for other work, electronics and 3D printing. For the shop, I'd leave them in this. I want them to be protected. I want them to stay together. Too much chance of something like this getting knocked over in the shop. So I don't really go for open tool collections like this in the shop. But there's how it looks. So I can easily see what's there. It has a turntable, but I didn't do the turntable. I didn't really like the idea of that. So I printed this, and it actually came out fairly well. This is actually very hard for a 3D printer to print, that curve. And this one seemed to do okay. There's a little bit of banding, but that is hard to print. So what do you get in this? Well, there's a nice flat file. An arrow file, that's what I call that. I'm not sure what the correct name is, but I call it an arrow file. A flat arrow file. Another flat file. Now, these will have different grid equivalencies. Flat pointed file. Square pointed file. I don't know why I'm saying pointed. They're all, well, all but one are pointed. There is a square pointed file. And these are different sizes, different grits. So you always need different shapes, and that one's round. And that's flat on one side, rounded on the other. Now I use these in electronics. If I drill a hole in an Altoids tin, I might clean it up with these. And I actually use them when I'm soldering to hold something down while I solder it. That's not necessarily a file-specific task, but it works good. Now, in the shop, these are very versatile. If you are working on something and there is a thread that is messed up, you can clean up that thread with these. It's tedious, takes a while, but you can do it. If it's a bolt, typically you can go get another bolt and throw that bolt away. But if it's a stud that's mounted on something, that's another story. It's easier to clean it up and then go and replace that part. So it's something you don't think about when you need these. They're indispensable. They work great. They're very cheap. I think these were like $4.99, $3.99. Some outrageously low price. They're low enough that I could get 2 of them for separate uses. And if you would break a couple of these, not a problem. Just go buy another set. That's one of the great things about Harbor Freight. If something's cheap, replace it. If you buy a set of these and they're $40 and you break one of them, you're like, damn, that's a high cost. But these don't care. And if you, for $40, you can buy 20 sets of them. The joys of shopping at Harbor Freight. So, and by the way, I've never broken one of these. I don't use them for real heavy-duty stuff. I have big files for that. Okay, so here's a practical application for these files. I printed this, but there's little what I call flashing. Flashing probably isn't the correct technical term, but I call it flashing. And I just clean up the parts with these. You technically probably don't have to clean up the parts, but I like them to be a little neater. So, something you don't think about, but indispensable. So if you like the videos, please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.